Hi there. I am so anxious to get moving on this project. I've been wanting to do it for quite a while. I'm going to be using a 16-inch board, a round board. That'll make a perfect sign for your front or back door. And I'm going to cover some tips and tricks to working with something like this and painting and keeping things aligned. Stick around. Hi, this is Kathie. Welcome to Craft with Kathie. You could create one side for spring, the other side for summer, or maybe one side for fall and then a holiday greeting on the opposite side. It really depends what you're looking for. But it's rather lightweight. It's 1/4 of an inch thick, but it is definitely sturdy. It's stained, but you can paint it if you want. And I'm going to be using this on my grid mat so that I could show you some of the tips and tricks to working with it when you want to paint an area or you want to do lines and you want to keep everything straight and properly aligned. It really is simpler than you would think. So let's get going. So I like using this on my grid surface because it gives me a way of lining things up and a little bit of an edge for what I want to do. And tonight I'm going to be using some painter's tape and also our transfer tape to mask this round up before I paint it. And I have to do a couple little quick measurements to decide how much of an area I want to block off. I want to do a couple little stripes and a couple block areas. But before I even get started with that, I need a little bit of input. I am trying to decide which of these two sayings to put on here. Let me scrounge them up here. I've got them in a stack of transfers. And I haven't been able to decide if I want to go with hello or if I want to go with welcome. And I was initially thinking of putting them at the bottom. But I think if I go with the welcome, I'll go up towards the bottom. And if I go with the hello, I'll go towards the top. What do you think? Which do you think? I mean, I was actually looking for another transfer I have of welcome. That's in a nice script and a little bit larger than this because this almost seems like it's too small. And this almost seems like it's too big, but I think it really depends upon what else I add to this. So I'm just kind of sitting on the fence, not quite sure which one I want to use. So I'm open to any suggestions and input. I am coming at you from the suburbs west of Chicago, where we've had a rather stormy day at one point, or a tornado warning. Basically the phone's beeping and it's like, take cover in an inside room, and the sirens were blaring outside. It was like, whoa, that was unexpected and a little bit disconcerting to say the least. But all was well here, other than the buckets of rain that was coming down. I have no idea if there was actually any damage in Oak Brook where they had originally spotted the tornado. I'm going to move my camera stand a little bit back so I could get a little bit more work area on this surface with this 16-inch round. So what do you think? The hello or the welcome? Which way should I go with this? The hello or the welcome? Which way should I go with this? Okay, so the consensus was the hello, and I'm going to put the hello up at the top. And overall, I'm looking for a rather rustic look to this, so I'm actually going to sand my surface. I'm going for a rather rustic look, so I'm going to use this little sanding block to rough it up a little bit, lighten it up, take some of the staining off. I don't want it real blotchy, but I do want it to look more kind of like a weathered or a worn, distressed look to it. And obviously you could use an electric sander, or you could skip this step entirely if you're not looking for a rustic or distressed. You don't have to bother with this. I am going to be using an acrylic paint on it to block out certain areas or do like a 7-inch or a 6.5-inch chunk of of antique white and then a couple stripes to it, just to get the look that I'm going for. Part of the fun of crafting is just make it how you like it, how you want it to look. This went fairly fast. It didn't take much time actually, and it was pretty easy. Just evening things up a little bit, getting rid of where it looks a little blotchy. Almost done. So I'm just dampening this paper towel. I've got my trusty little dryer here too. It's not a heat gun, it is our dryer. It'll help me dry the paint and the paste. I am going to be using paint tonight, which usually I use paste, but I am going to be using a water-based paint tonight. Woo! So I'll wipe down. Now it looks like a nice old piece of wood, doesn't it? Okay, I'm going to move this aside, clean off my surface, and then we'll get into the fun stuff. Or maybe not so fun, but you know what? I'll try and make it in a manner that it's a little bit easier to do if you've ever struggled with blocking out areas to paint on a round. A grid surface really helps in laying it out. Now this is a 16-inch round, so if I lay out my edge, I mean I could go all the way to the corner here, but if I laid it against my 4-inch marker, I'm going to go from 4 inches to 20 inches here. And I want to make sure that the center is in the center of this, so I'd be at my 12-inch mark. I'm going to put a little piece of placement tape there just so that it's real easy to spot. Help it out a little bit. Okay. And our placement tape, if you're not familiar with it, is just kind of like washi tape, but there is a ruler on it. So you could use this to measure, or you could use it to block out areas that you don't want to chalk or paint or whatever. And you know what, actually, just to make this a little bit easier to see on camera, I am going to take apart a piece here and line up the 4-inch marker and the 20-inch so that it's easier to see what I'm lining up against. I'm not quite sure what's going to actually show up for you, so hopefully this will help, help and make it a little bit easier to see or to spot. So I want to center this between these two markers. So I've laid down the placement tape at the 4-inch marker and the 20-inch marker, because in between I'll put the 16-inch round, and I'm just putting that so that you could see it. So I'll line it up between there, and our round actually has a hanger at the top, a little hole for a hanger to either hang it on a nail or to put a string or whatever. And I am going to take that little hole and center it on the 12-inch marker right between the crosshairs so that I know it's perfectly aligned. I need to adjust this just a little bit. Rotate it. I have it between the two markers, and then I need to rotate it until that little hole is right in the crosshairs of the 12-inch marker. That'll allow me to lay the placement tape using the grid lines for perfect alignment. So the tallest part of my transfer is, probably about a little bit more than 6 inches, probably 6 1/4 inches. So I want to block out probably a 7-inch area for this. And I'm not sure if I said I was going to put this at the top or the bottom. I think I'm going to put it at the top. Yep, at the top. So I want to allow for a 7-inch area that I'm going to paint in my, I think it's antique white. Yes, antique white acrylic paint. So let's see. If I start here and go down 7 inches, well, let's put a little marker here so I could show what I'm going for. Now I want to be careful I don't move my round as I'm doing this. I should have stuck a glue dot or something underneath it. So I want to go 7 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to go right up to here. And I will lay my tape or my my painter's tape over there. And I want to do it on both sides. So let's see, I'm at the 7-inch marker there, 7 inch from the bottom. I'm running a little bit low on my tape. I'm hoping that I have enough to do the stripes that I want to do tonight with it. Oops. And where's my one at the top? Let's see, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4 down from the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to go here. So by having this centered on my grid, I can block out the areas that I want to paint, just cover up what I don't want to go over when I lay down my painter's tape. And I've got a nice roll of thick painter's tape here that I'm going to use. So that way I don't have to be so meticulous when I do the large blocking. Hey, welcome to the 16-inch round take 2. I basically changed a little bit of the tape. I realized that I wanted to put another white line up here, and I really couldn't do it with the wide painter's tape, so I just changed it and used the placement tape instead. So I'm going to do a color block of 6.5 inches here. This I think is about 3/4 of an inch, and then the one down here is 1/4 of an inch. The one at the base of the board. Oh, I'm a little off camera, but believe me, there's a line down here. I don't want to move this because I actually taped this at the top so it doesn't shift or move while I was placing these other lines. You don't have to do them all at once. I wanted to have them all set and ready to go as I painted, to basically show you where I was painting and where I was not, to get the look that I was looking for. So I'm going to do between here for this color block, I'm going to do this line. So I've got a 3/4 inch, and then at the bottom I have a 1/4 inch. And that's pretty much it for that. I'm going to use this wide brush. And I think I'm ready to go. Okay, I'm using the acrylic antique white paint and just brushing and painting between to get the blocks of color or the white that I wanted on the surface. So I've got 6.5 inch wide area for my hello, and then I have a stripe at the top that I'm going to have that's 3/4 of an inch, and a stripe at the bottom that's a little off camera that's about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm basically just going over this and painting it, and then I'm going to hit it with my dryer. And I think I'm going to probably need 2 coats to cover this. Now the dryer looks like a heat gun, but it is not a heat gun. Generally a heat gun is something that you would use like for melting embossing powder if you're a card maker or a stamper. It looks very similar, but it is not as hot. We don't want that. It's more of a cool air. We don't want it to be really hot, don't want to inadvertently melt a transfer or anything like that. If you do not have our dryer tool, feel free to use a hair dryer on low. That works fine. And that'll speed up the drying of obviously the paint, but also if you need to dry your chalk paste a little bit quicker than it would normally take, go ahead and use a hair dryer on cool, or use our quick drying tool. They both would work fine. So I am going to add a second coat so that I get a nice solid coverage here. And if I get a little bit of bleeding underneath the tape, I'll just either sand it off or roll with it. Not going to worry about it. In reality, there's always the other side, right? Can't get all worried about little things. This is supposed to be fun, so just relax and enjoy the process. Have a good time with it. What's Bob Ross say? Or what did Bob Ross used to say? There's no mistakes, just happy accidents. Sometimes using embellishments to accommodate our happy accidents ends up giving us something a little bit different than we were thinking of up front, but sometimes it's a little bit better than what we were thinking. So good excuse for using a little bit more creativity to handle those types of oops that sometimes occur. Just adding the second coat now. Using the placement tape and the painter's tape really makes this quite simple. I know it sounds a little complex when I first started laying it down, but it really makes it a lot easier, and you could basically vary your design from piece to piece or however you really want it to look. I wanted a nice light background because I'm going to do the hello in cadet blue. So I wanted a little striking. The other day I used the cadet blue and some greens on a piece, and I looked at this and I said, you know what, I really like the color combo, and I'm going to kind of go with the same thing. However, the one difference is I somehow have misplaced my wax. And I am going for a rather, excuse me, distress look on this piece. But generally, after, whenever I use wood, I wax the wood, and if I paint it, I also wax over the paint. And especially if I've sanded it. The wax is, the benefit of the wax is twofold. One, it protects my transfer from any paint that might lift up, or any splinters or raw wood. And the other is, if I make a mistake on the paint, it's easier to wipe it off before it the pigment actually gets absorbed into the wood or into the paint. So the wax acts as a barrier. Another thing that it does when you've distressed a piece, the wax actually gives you a more even surface to work on. Being that I did not wax this, you'll see when I pull up the transfer after the hello, it looks distressed, which goes along with the piece, but a little bit more so than I was actually anticipated. And in reality, I would strongly advise using wax unless you're deliberately going for that look. Just about done with this, and then we can pull up the tape and get on to the next step. Let's see what the damage is here. I'm going to take the placement tape off the bottom, and there was an area that I went over, and I'm going to probably hit that with the sanding block to get it off to fix it. And I did go off the edge a little bit. I've got some cleanup to do with that, so let me get a paper towel because my drips definitely did not dry. But I couldn't really get at fixing them while I was all taped up here. Okay. You get the strip out the bottom. I probably will paint the edge all the way around when I'm done, just so that it has a nice finished edge on it. Let me lift this up. And it's not the straightest line, but it doesn't look too terribly bad. I've got a little bleed here, but I'm not going to worry about it because my letters, I think, are actually going to go off a little bit, and that's going to be fine. I think there's an artist called Wasaki who does these interesting prints where he has a border on his artwork, and then part of his art goes right out of the border and off the edge of the thing. Now this was just holding it in place so it didn't shift on me. So I could pretend I'm Wasaki. I might be butchering his name too. I'm sorry if I am. I used to have some prints of his in my kitchen. Okay. So I've got a little bit here where I went off. And where is my little sander? I'm just lighten it up a little bit. Made short work of that, made it disappear, and then I've got this area, whoops, down here where I did the same, and I'm just going to hit it with the sander too. And this is just a little sponge sander. It's not working quite as well. Let me get another side there. There we go. So you can't really tell that I oopsed and went off of the paint. Here you can a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about it. So this is basically it. I have this large block that I'm going to put the hello on, and then I have these two other stripes. I'm going to set this aside. Oops, see, I've got drips on the side that I need to wipe up. Let me take care of that, get this out of here, let it dry a little bit more, and let me clean my surface, and I'll get to the transfers and what we're really going to do with this. I love these little rounds because they are so lightweight, and they're fairly decent price. And of course, being that they're light instead of the real heavy ones, they don't cost as much to ship, which makes them all the more nicer. But like I said, they're sometimes hard to catch when they're in stock. That's been a bit of a challenge. They're in stock now. So when I place my order in the next couple days, I am definitely gonna stock up and get a little stash of them. Where am I from? I'm actually from Chicago. Do I have an accent? Are you picking up a little bit of an accent there? Years ago, I had an accident. I ran into a wall. I slipped and hit my head and needed stitches. And I was at the ER, and the resident that was checking me out was, he said, you have an accent. Where are you from? And I'm like, what's wrong with him? You know, I said, I'm from here. I was born in Chicago. He says, no, you have an accent. And finally it dawned on me. My dad was born here, but for a short period, for a couple years when he was probably in grade school, his family moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota. And what I've realized is that there are certain words that my dad pronounces, kind of like the South Dakota. If you ever saw, oh, I can't think of the name of that movie. Can't think of it. Anyway, just went in my head and I lost it. So I do, there are certain things that I pronounce that have more of that kind of an accent to them. I thought the movie was really making fun out of people from that area, but in reality, when I paid a little bit closer attention to one of my aunts who lived there after she got married for a number of years, I realized that yeah, there is a certain accent or a certain, I don't know. Of course, when I would hang around with my friend from Kentucky in the summer when school was out, when we were in high school, by the end of summer, every now and then, some of my words would have a little southern drawl. So I must be, I couldn't do it deliberately if I wanted. hence why I had to drop out of my French class. I just couldn't get my mouth to pronounce the words, but I do, I guess, have a tendency to pick up something a little bit. But yeah, I'm from Chicago, just a little bit of the Minnesota spin to my words. Okay, let me clean my fingers a little bit here and get things going. So yes, I really like the Cadet Blue. This is slightly, I've got two little areas that are slightly damp here yet. So let me clean my fingers and it should be dry momentarily. And I'm going to use definitely the Cadet Blue for my wording. And then I'm going to use a whole bunch of different other colors because I just want to have fun with this. I just absolutely loved April's Club Couture transfer. It has been so much fun to use and so much variety. And I think when I first saw it, I wasn't overly impressed, and then I started using it, and it's just been a blast. And saw something similar to this and said, oh my goodness, I have to do that. So I love the way that we can all try and put different spins on it for different looks. It makes it lots of fun. Which, in my VIP group, if you're not a member of my VIP group and would like to be privy to specials and bundles and games and some other things, comment VIP and I'll send you the link. I will be starting, it's not really a contest per se, but for my club members, submit or post your projects from your from Club Couture each month. And where I'm not going to actually rate the projects, we'll just do a drawing and give away an interesting prize. I think that'll be a little bit of fun and get everyone to actually use their things. I think sometimes it's easy to put it aside and say, hey, I'll do it later. But might as well get using it right away. Really, that much difference from different parts of the state. That's interesting. I've never been to Utah. I've been to around the country quite a bit. I used to travel around and do installs, software installs at a company that I was working for, a large fast food restaurant chain without naming anyone. But that was a lot of fun. And then I also used to do some training and stuff with them. So I've been quite a different number of places, but I have never made it to Utah as of yet. Definitely want to. Okay, somewhere I lost my hello. Let me dig it out from my pile of transfers. I was shuffling through so many different things today, trying to decide what I wanted to coordinate with us, that I've got too many things stacked up, and I swear I'm not seeing my hello. That's funny. Oh. Had it right against my monitor. Why not, right? Okay. I ideally was looking for my welcome, and I know we had a transfer last year. I honestly don't remember if it's active now or not. That had a bunch of different welcomes on it, and I know I did a project that went south with one of them. My chalk paste bled, and I never really finished that project, set it aside to redo, and I'm sure the transfer is with the surface and everything, but I couldn't find it today, so I was looking for an appropriate welcome or something similar and stumbled on the hello, and I thought, this looks nice and bright and cheery, doesn't it? I like the script. It's big, it's bold. So this is going to go in this area here. Part of it is probably going to go off, hence the Kawasaki comment or whatever. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll all fit in there. We'll see. And then I'm going to go back to my little plants from the Keep Going, Keep Growing, and put these plants down here on the base so it's underneath. And I think they're going to bump into a little bit to the top, and that's fine. You know, so I'm going to be going out of the borders a little bit, and I think that'll work. I just hope this isn't going to run into my hello. If so, I'll just adjust it a little bit. We'll see. Let me make sure this is dry, and then we'll go with the Hello. It's still a little shiny there. Let me make sure it's fully dry. I don't want to put my transfer on it if it's not fully dry. And let me get my paste out here. Where's my cadet glue? Aha. Hiding over here. And once again, I would highly recommend waxing your wood before using your transfer on it. I didn't want to go looking for my wax after I had started this live for the second time today. And thought I could get by without it because I was going for a rather rustic look anyway. But seriously, wax your surface. Protect your transfer. And smooth out your wood because it's been sanded and painted. It really does make a fairly big difference. Stir stick and a little bit of water to thin it down a little bit, I think, or at least stir it up and see if I do need to thin it or not. This is our new, it's more than a year old, our Creamy Dreamy paste, which is not as apt to dry out. And I absolutely love it, but I did a lot with this last summer, and I have a tendency of leaving my cap off, so when I used it the other day I had to water it or thin it a little bit with distilled water. No, this might be okay. Maybe, maybe not. Seems like it's kind of thick again. I don't want to make it too thin. No, I think it's fine. Oops, I got a little chalk paste crumble there. I think this is fine. When I used it the other day, I think I had it a little bit too thin and it bled on my galvanized metal, which our detail tool is great for scraping off any bleeds or anything like that. Let me get my fuzzing towel and get this fuzzed. Oh, and I actually want to get a larger squeegee. Might as well use a big squeegee to do this. Make short work of it. Oh, thank you. You've never chalked. Really, truly, I know I say that if you could butter toast, you could chalk. It truly is that easy. I mean, there are some finer points and little things like, why do you fuzz? You want to fuzz your transfer so that it does not stick as snugly as it would if you didn't. And as you use your transfers and wash them and whatever, they will lose, you know, their adhesive back, so they will lose some of their stickiness. That's part of the process. I mean, that's normal, but they are reusable 8 to 12 times or more. And you basically diminish the adhesive a little bit so it doesn't stick as snugly to your surface as it would if you didn't. Now, if you were putting it on glass or metal like yesterday or Thursday was the galvanized metal, I fuzzed it a lot because any non-porous surface, your transfer will stick to very strongly, and if it sticks very strongly and you try to lift it up, you are going to be pulling and tugging at it, and you don't want to ever have to do that because of the silk screen. You could potentially distort it, so that's why we fuzz. Going on wood, you don't have to fuzz that much. I'm cleaning up my big squeegee here because I was terrible and didn't clean it the other day. It was just sitting here on a paper towel. You know, one of those things I say, I'll get it when I'm done with the project, and then something happens or mom wants a snack and it still has paste on it. Well, that's what happened here. So let me clean that up. So you just lay it down, press it down, lift it up. It'll pick a little lint from your fuzzing cloth up. If you don't have a fuzzing cloth, you could use a towel or a pair of jeans or a sweater, whatever. Just something that's going to put a little bit of lint on it so it doesn't stick quite as snugly. Oops. And you can feel the difference. Like this is still pretty sticky. Usually 3 or 4 times I'll do it, but this seems quite sticky, so I just want to do it a little bit more. You do it so it doesn't stick so snugly. You also, well, that's pretty much it. Let's leave it at that. Oops. Okay. Let me see how I want to lay this out on here. Generally, I would wax this, but I am not going to wax it tonight because right now I don't know where my wax is. Okay, I want it in the middle of this panel, and I'm thinking it'll maybe fit. I think all my letters are on. I'm just going to eyeball it from left to right, see if that's straight. Where's my ruler? Oops. Did actually lose my ruler. Let's see if I hid it behind my monitor. Nope. Dropped it on the floor. That'll do it. Okay. So, got about 2 1/4 inches on the largest side here, for the widest part. And yeah, it's not straight, obviously. Oh yeah, realize that. Move it over a little bit more. And I could see through this transfer a little bit. So I think my letters are the appropriate equidistance. Oops, maybe not. It's a little crooked there. I could actually use the line on top to line it up a little bit here. And I think I might have it a little bit over to the right too much. Oops. And I think I want it about there. Do a quick measurement. 2 3/4. Boy, am I off. Seriously, it didn't look like it was that off. Okay. Oh, I've got good light here. Now I could see through the transfer to the bottom to make sure that I've got it right. Two 3/4 and 2 1/2. Boy, I'm really struggling with this, aren't I? Let's move it a little bit over. If your transfer ever sticks to itself, very gently pull it apart. Do not pry it apart. If it is stuck, really stuck, where you can't gently lift it apart, just put it under water. And cool water will generally get you to the point where you could pull it or nudge it apart. A little under 2 1/4, 2 1/2. You know what? This is silly. It's funny. I think this is fine. You want to make sure you don't have any air bubbles under your silk screen. I'm going to lift this up because I'm getting some air bubbles on the top. really thinking I should have waxed this, and I did not. And we've got an air bubble right here on the O. And you lift up, straighten it out. Either we have a clump of paste there, or I have an air bubble. I can't really tell right now. Hopefully I could fix that. Just smoothing it, removing any excess, putting the excess back in the jar, and I'm going to lift this up. I really can't tell if that's an air bubble or a clump here. I don't like it, but we'll see. Whoa. Yeah, I stuck really well. I should have definitely waxed it. And with all that fuzzing, I still stuck a lot. But you know what? Let's say it's distressed. Kind of a distressed look where it peeled up a little bit. That's fine. That's what I'm going for. The board is distressed. We'll fly with that. If you don't want to do that, put some wax down on it. Gently, don't rub it in, just kind of smear it over it and then buff it off, but gently, not with a lot of pressure, because you don't want to take the paint off with the wax when you're doing it. But this is okay. I'm going to roll with that look. I'm getting the blue off my fingers, I'm sorry. A lot of paste all over me. And let me cover this up and get it out of the way. Now, I'm going to dry that, because when I lay the next transfer down, I don't want it going over wet paste. If you're a beginner, the easiest surface to actually start with is a chalkboard. Because if you make a mistake, all you have to do is spritz it with water and wipe it up with a paper towel and try again. It really is a very simple, easy type of project. So if you make a mistake, all you have to do is spritz it with water and wipe it up with a paper towel. Our board eraser helps a little bit and make it easy to remove it. But it's real easy. If you make an oops, just wipe it up and do it again. And our little board and base is a really nice surface. We've got little kits with the board and base. Each month they're coming out with different ones, and that's a real good, kind of like project to start on. It's a simple, easy thing. And they come with everything, even the squeegee that you need. Okay, so I'm going to fuzz this transfer. I'm going to put these little plants down here on my little line at the bottom, which of course is off camera. Let me turn this around a little bit. So I'm going to set my plants down here, and then I'm going to use different color pastes to do the pots and the leaves and whatever else. So let me get my drying tool out of here. I need another table by me, seriously. Oops, let's hang it up there. That works. And fuzz this transfer. I'm only going to be using the plants. Oops. Yeah, you know what, really, truly, I should be waxing this, and I don't have my wax out here, so I'm going to, let's pretend I waxed it, and hopefully I don't run into any problems. You know, do as I say, don't do as I do. With my, being this is take 2, I don't want to take the time to go running around to grab my wax, so I'm going to cross my fingers and fly without the wax. But the reason you wax your wood is to protect the back of your transfer. You don't want to pull up paste on the back of your transfer. And you also don't want to pull up a splinter or anything on the back of it. So you protect your transfer by waxing it. And you also protect your surface because a thin layer of wax on top stops the pigmentation from the paste absorbing into the wood as quickly. Okay, I need to get my colors here. What I'm thinking of doing, actually, I don't know if I want to go something real simple with this, or I brought out so many different color pastes. Let me kind of grab them and see what we've got. I like the jade for the green. I also have my meadow here, and I was thinking of mixing them, or kind of like doing a hot mess with them so that the leaves are not one color. Oops, let me close my cadet. I don't have that lid on tightly. There we go. So close that up. Then I've got Marvelous, I thought, for the flowers, but I think that's a little bit too close to the brown of the wood, so I don't think I'm going to go with that. Some Peachy Keen, which is kind of pretty, but it's also might fade with the wood. I don't know. Sunny Side, which would be nice and bright, I think. I'm not sure. I've got my Lakeside. Oh yeah, I went a little crazy when I pulled out paste here. I've got a whole stack of things. Let me think for a moment. Of course, I could probably, of course, what I didn't bring out was white. I could have brought out white and just done all the pots in one color. Yes, and sometimes I mix my own paste. If you don't have all the colors you want, oh look at, I've got Greige over here. Whoops. Oh, Eucalyptus. No, I don't want to use Eucalyptus. I'm definitely going to go with the Jade. I'm sorry, Storm, not Greige. I've got two Storms, obviously. I forgot I already had one. The Storm is really kind of generic and kind of goes with every kind of thing, so that kind of works. It's very flexible in, did I just set my arm down in there? I hope not. It's very generic for coordinating with pretty much any kind of color scheme. I'm just thinking, what do I really want to do with this? I definitely want to use the Sunny Side because it's nice and bright. And I'd like to have a little bit brighter colors because it's going to be actually on the stained or the wood part of the board. So I'd like something that would stand out. And definitely the meadow green and the jade for all the leaves on the plants. But for the flowers, if I do the flowers a different color, something a little bit brighter to make them pop is what I'm going for. So I'm going to fuzz this transfer and we'll get started. Let's just go with it. Yes, I do mix colors sometimes. You could, if I wanted to change the screen, make it a little bit lighter, I could put them in a little color tray. Where's my little color trays? They're great for mixing up your colors. Oops. So just in case I need some color trays out there. But I mix colors all the time because in reality, leaves are not one color green. So it's kind of nice to get something a little bit more lifelike by doing some different spins with it. I'm going to put this transfer on my lap to finish fuzzing it. And then I'm going to put the backer sheet underneath part of the lettering because I'm not going to use the lettering. So that'll just protect it. And then lay it down here right on top of my little white line. Ooh, and I'm going to be off a little bit. Maybe I have to move that up a little bit. Thought I could get by without doing that. Well, let's see. Of course, I don't have to put all 5 plants on here. I could just put 3 in the middle, I suppose. I'm going to make the pots blue. I know I've got the edge pots. Am I only going to do the center ones? I'm going to do all the pots and I'm going to do them all in the blue, in the cadet blue, just to balance with the lettering. My edge pots are a little bit off the side, but that's fine. Let me grab a smaller squeegee here. And grab enough paste there. So I'm applying the cadet blue and smoothing it over the transfer and doing all of the pots in the cadet blue. So I think that'll coordinate well with the hello in the cadet blue, kind of balance it out a bit. I didn't want to get that plant stem or trunk or whatever with that. And where is my little detail tool? Here we go. This will be easier for me to work with the cadet paste here. The detail tool is a great little squeegee on one end and a pointy little needle type thing on the end. The needle thing is great for lifting your transfer if you don't have any fingernails to grab it and lift it, or to actually scrape any bleeds off of a surface if you've had a problem with it. And the other side, this little squeegee end is great for getting into tight places in smaller areas. You smooth this out. And I will do this little teacup pot here with it. My feed is stalling, so I'm not quite sure if you could see what I'm doing or not. My streaming has stopped, so hopefully this is still recording and you could see what I'm doing. Never can tell with Facebook lately. There's been many issues recently. So I'm doing all the pots in the cadet blue to go with the wording for hello. Oops. Got a little bit too much on here, and I'm having a hard time getting right where I needed to be. Here we go. That little edge. And get right in there. And just scrape off the excess and put it back in the jar. Grab a little bit for the last pot over here to the right. And then, because this is taking me a little bit of time, I'm going to do the paste and peel where I pasted it. And now I'm going to peel it up and let it dry for a moment, just so that I don't have a problem with it drying in the silk screen. I needed my little squeegee to clean this up here. It'd be quicker than my detail tool. Smooth that out. Same with over here. Let me lift this up. Ooh. I didn't get the top. Didn't get the top of the teacup. Okay, and that's where my stem goes. Okay, that's fine. The only part I didn't get was this little part of the teacup. Let me go over that again. It's right near the top there. No, I still didn't get it. I'm just getting too close to where the greenery is. Let me grab another squeegee. And we'll do a little mixing up of the greens. Mom got tired of waiting for me and went to go lay down, which is fine. Anytime, though, I could get her to eat a little snack, I'm all for it, because she's a tiny little slip of a thing. And, yeah, the more I could get her to eat, the better, basically. Oops, okay. Water bottle. Thank you. We're getting there. I think instead of, well, I was debating, do I want to do the flowers or do I not? I guess I'll do the flowers. I'm going to try and get in there with my greens, and the large one obviously be real easy to get because it's just going to be leaves, and the same with this one. But my little teacups and this one on the right, I'm going to have to use the detail tool to get in there for the petals and whatever. So let me clean up my detail tool. Okay, so my greens, we've got, oops, the meadow, and we've got a jade, and I'm going to take a stir stick. Ooh, I can't get the jade open. There we go. And I'm going to put a little dab in the areas. No, can't find a stir stick. I will use my detail tool. I'll just do a little, make sure this is down, no air bubbles here. Okay. Just kind of do a little dab will do ya in different places, and we'll do the hot mess with this where we do a little finger painting kind of like, so that we don't have one flat green. We'll mix it up a bit. Kind of little dabs all over. I still don't have enough there. Let me add a little bit more paste. Okay. And then while I'm here, I'm going to actually do the stems of my daffodils with the jade. I almost just stuck my finger in the pot of paste. I'm really good at that, believe me. I don't want to pick up any blue of the cadet on my tool, though. I don't want to accidentally put it back in my jar. And mix up my paste. If that ever happens to you, just get a little stir stick and scoop it out. You never want, if you don't have stir sticks, you could use plastic, but never use a popsicle stick in your paste, because it's wood and it will suck the moisture out of your paste, because our paste is made from chalk, so you don't want to dry it out. Clean that up and get some of my meadow here, and then we'll mix this up. Oh, kind of dab it all around. Oops, not getting enough off of there. Make sure, oops, clean that off. I don't want to put that back in the jar. I don't want to contaminate my meadow. And basically, the mixture of colors like this is called the hot mess technique. You just put your colors down, dabs your colors wherever you want them, and then you go back over them. I'll show you with your finger, generally a little tiny spritz of water on your finger just to moisten it a little bit, and then you could kind of do this. I might have needed a little bit more paste there. Yeah, I think I need a little bit more paste. Oops. Grab a little bit more meadow. Oops. And then go over it with your squeegee and smooth it out. and blend your colors. My finger did most of the blending, but you'll see it won't be all one color, it won't be flat. It gives a nice little dimension to the green. Now when you do this, you cannot put the paste back in the jar because obviously it's a mixture of colors, so you don't want to put it back in the jar. And just wiping it off on a paper towel. I'm going to lift this up. Ooh, I forgot this one. Oops. I need a little bit more of my meadow on this. Kind of missed it. I didn't do the blending with my finger on this one, but I think it's okay. And I want to get that stem. Get my detail tool in there to get the little stem of the plant. And then of course wipe this off on paper towel. Clean that up. I'm going to lift this and let that, whoops, didn't mean to lift it all the way up. I'm going to let that dry, but you can see that if you can see the different colors in the green, I think it looks nice. I'm going to have to lay this down for the other two little plants and for the flowers here on the daffodils. Yeah, it's called the hot mess technique. Because it could be a hot mess. What could I say? I'm going to hit this with my dryer and then lay it back down. I'm going to have to center it again. But I want to make sure this paste is dry before I lay it back over it. The daffodils might be a little bit of a problem, but we'll see. I don't want to hit my transfer with my quick dry tool, even though it's not real hot air. I still don't want to take any chance of damaging it. Okay, let me get that out of the way. Let me clean up my tools a little bit more and get on to the last little colors here. So I'm just cleaning off some of my tools that I need to reuse to actually apply the chalk paste to the flowers on the two, or the 3 pots with flowers and the petals, whatever. I'm cleaning the tools off in my lap. I want to use the sunny side for the sunny side yellow for the daffodils because I think that'll be nice and bright and cheery. Okay, this looks like it's dry, so now I'm going to lay the transfer back over what I've already chalked, line it up. I could see what the chalk paste through the silk screen, and I want to get that aligned so that I could do the flower petals. I'm going to make sure those daffodils are lined up. That looks pretty good. Let me gently press this down. And then start with the remaining flowers. I'm using my detail tool again to get into the tight little areas. Perfect for something like this where there's a lot of greenery and then the little flower buds. The only thing, it's a little bit hard to pick up your excess paste with the detail tool because it is so small of a squeegee in essence. Try and get all that flour. There we go. You know what? I'm going to go with doing the flowers here too in yellow, kind of to balance this off a little bit. And then I'll come back in and do the greenery. I think it needs the yellow to brighten it a little bit, especially on the wood. Oops, I grabbed too much paste there. This might be a little struggle getting in here with the green, but we'll see. Oops, I've got another little flower right down here. I've got some petals. Okay. And then, what do I want to do with these? Let's see. I'll think about that a little bit. Let me clean this off and go back and put the foliage in. If I could get in the habit of covering my paste as I go along, I'll be less apt to have it drying out on me. Ooh, maybe my peachy keen here would be good. It's a little pale, but it might work for the flowers there. Okay, let me get in here and do the foliage. And I'll lift this up and see what it looks like if I went far enough down here to get in by the pot. You know, pretty good there. Then let me come over here and get these little stems. My yellow is a little bit wet yet, so I want to be careful to try not to smear that and just get the actual leaves and stems. I have to admit, if I wasn't live, I'd probably be doing this a little bit slower than I am. I always want to rush when I'm live. I don't know why. I just feel like I might be boring if I go too slow. Let's see how that looks. Not the best. My yellow there really didn't go through that transfer. And I'm not quite sure why. Let me go back over this. I just might have been too light-handed with it. That looks a little better, but there, I got the top of the flowers there. Okay, so there we go. Let me move this transfer out of the way. What do you think? The only thing I regret is I think I needed more of a pop of melon or something down here color-wise. I might go back over and do a little watercolor in here and color in like the middle of my my daffodils or whatever. Maybe I'll use that with the melon, or maybe I'll fill in the pots a little bit with a little bit of watercoloring there. Something to make it a little bit warmer. I really love our, what is it? Sunset Drive color. And I don't know where I put that paste. Somewhere around here. I've got it misplaced or something, but I might do that just to warm it up. I think that would look good with the wood also. And then maybe a bow or maybe not a bow. I'm not quite sure. And like I said, my streaming, all I could see, I see no chalking on what I'm streaming right now, so I hope this looks good. But it was, I think, kind of a fun project, and maybe a little embelly, just a little hanger here. Of course, I could just have a hook or a nail here and hang it. But I think maybe it needs maybe a little foliage or something. I'll see what, you know, I'll wait until it dries and then see what, dig through my stash and see what might be a good little add-on to it. Thank you so much for watching. I surely do appreciate it. Remember, if you're interested in this transfer for Club Couture, tonight is the last night to sign up for Club and get the Keep Going, Keep Growing transfer. And then April's is this cute lemonade. I misspoke. May is the cute lemonade transfer. And the funniest thing is, years ago I was at Stone Mountain, Georgia, and the waitress asked if we'd like lemonade, and we all said no. And she said, oh, but we have the best lemonade in the world. And I turned around and she was placing 3 lemonades down on the table. And I was like, I didn't know quite what to say. And she said, seriously, try it. Let me know if this isn't the best lemonade you've ever had in your life. And you know what? She was right, it was. And that's what this transfer reminds me of. Have an absolutely wonderful weekend. See you soon.